Assalamu alaikum everybody, welcome back to today's module. This is the last part of the first module, writing, and this part 6 is called vocabulary as part of this core English communication. I hope all of you are doing well, so let's get on with it. So the first slide is about expanding your vocabulary. This is a core written by Wilfred Bank. He's an editor, a writer, a lexicographer, and a publisher. So he has said, the more words you know, the more clearly and powerfully you will think, and the more ideas you will invite in your mind. So obviously he is saying that the more vocabulary obviously means words, different words. For one word, there must be a synonym for another. So the more words you know, the more powerfully you will think with your brain, and the more ideas you will invite into your mind. Okay, so there are plenty of ways to expand your vocabulary. One particularly effective method is to keep your own word journal where you list new words as you find them. This particular passage was mentioned before briefly in one of the vocabulary sections in the past lectures. So you could organize this by date, topic, in alphabetical order, or you could group words with similar meanings together. When you encounter a new word, make a note of it, look it up in a dictionary and establish its correct meaning, and to find out how to best use its sentence. So use a thesaurus to find a synonym. And if you remember, I did say a thesaurus is a very useful book to have, to keep. It would be your best friend if you want some new vocabulary to learn. Okay, so for example, this chart over here shows us that the word bad can go on to say, you can go and use it to say, sorry, the word bad can also mean awful. So you're stepping up a ladder as you go down, and these all 5 letters mean the same, have the same meaning. So obviously all these 5 letters have the same meaning as bad. So bad can also mean awful, it can also mean horrid, it can also mean horrendous, it can also mean ghastly, it can also mean destructive. All these 5 words mean bad, but these are just better words. It's just a better vocabulary to use than the word bad itself. Okay, so moving on, the keynote. The keynote is to use your vocabulary wisely and aim for a good range that suits your audience and purpose. This is true for both your fiction and non-fiction writing. So long words are not always the most effective. Example, it was sweating. This is an example. If it was sweating, it was sweltering one day. Sorry, it's late at night over here. It was a sweltering sunny day. Is different to, it was a thermogenic undarkened sunrise to sunset. So make sure you understand, these two are the same sentences, but this one is just nice and straightforward and it's got a good vocab there, so sweltering. But whereas this one, it's got thermogenic undarkened sunrise to sunset. So over here it says, make sure you understand how to use the words in a sentence. For example, thermogenic doesn't make much sense in the above sentence because it means to produce heat, but it is used to describe drugs or produce the products that have heat in the body. Okay, so when you proofread your work, proofreading is very important, as I said yesterday. Try alternative words such as synonyms and notice the effects of these different vocabulary choices. So where possible, use precise words full of descriptive energy to bring your writing to life. This is how you better your writing. So you may have noticed as we progressed into the lectures, the better your writing techniques may have gotten, or the better you were revising about how to better your writing. So now we're talking about using a thesaurus but in more detail. So it also says use precise verbs. So a way to liven up a piece of writing is to choose the action words, verbs with great care. So use words to show the reader the actions or behavior of a character. For example, he walked into the room and said, "This is what I was waiting for." By choosing more precise verbs, you can give depth to your writing. So more detailed, more life into your writing. This gives the reader more vivid impressions of your scene and characters. So notice how each of the following sentences, so these 3 sentences, of your Notice how each of the following sentences change your perception of the character. Perception means your perspective, so how you see the character. So the sentence was, "This is what I was waiting for," as mentioned all over here. So the first one is, he strolled into the room and muttered. So he strolled into the room and muttered, "This is what I was waiting for." He marched into the room and barked, "This is what I was waiting for." He shuffled into the room and sobbed, "This is what I was waiting for." So think about the impression and the atmosphere you're aiming to create as you make your vocabulary choices. So as this one, he strolled into the room and muttered. So strolling is just casually, slowly walking, observing everything around you. And muttered, so he spoke like this. "This is what I was waiting for." So basically muttering under your breath, okay? And he marched, obviously it gives an emphasis that he was very energetic. So he marched in the room and barked. What does barked mean? Obviously when the dog barks, but barks in other words also means, oh, he was shouting. So he was speaking very loud. So this sentence would be, he marched in the room and barked, "This is what I was waiting for." So you see the difference? This was a muttering and the sentence said, "This is what I was waiting for." This is the opposite, the total opposite. This is saying, "This is what I was waiting for." So in a very loud voice, it was given a louder impression. And then this one, he shuffled into the room and sobbed, "This is what I was waiting for." Shuffled meaning he was in a hurry. He was just shuffling around and eager just to get in, and sobbed means crying. So obviously he must be worried or he's anxious, and he just came into the room and said, "This is what I was waiting for." So notice all these 3 sentences give a different perception of the character. This one is quite frankly just a casual muttering voice. So he was just in his own, he was fine, he was okay, he was just muttering, "This is what I was waiting for." But he marched in the room and barked. The second one was a very loud impression. So obviously the character must have gone through something, the fact that he was marching into the room and barking. Shuffled and sobbed obviously means the person must be anxious and is crying. So all these 3 sentences give different perceptions. So obviously this sentence over here, think about it. It says, think about the impression and atmosphere you're aiming to create as you make your vocabulary choices. So depending on whatever novel that you're writing, think about the vocabulary that you're using, because it does create an atmosphere as these 3 sentences did. One created a soft atmosphere, one created a very loud atmosphere. The third one created a very sad or an anxious atmosphere. So think of the vocab that you would be using, because all these different vocabulary mean different meanings and have a different atmosphere attached to them. So make sure that you use the correct vocabulary depending on your novel, depending on whatever you're writing, okay? So moving on. So over here it says, use lively, interesting words. So here are some examples of overused words. For example, good, nice, very, happy, big, hate, said, walked. All these are very basic vocabularies, overused as mentioned over here. So can you think of any alternative words that you could use for each? Words that are more precise, lively, or interesting. Consider what the reader should feel about the place, person, or topic that you're describing. So this is an activity that you are supposed to be doing. Let me just highlight that again for you, just to make sure that you're aware. Okay. There we are. So it's your responsibility to make sure you come up with all different vocabulary words that mean the same meaning for each of these words. Okay, so let's start with good. I won't be doing it for you, but we'll give it a go so you understand what you have to do. So here are some examples. So good. Nice. Good could mean, anyone think of anything? Think of another word for each word. So good could mean, good also means nice, but good could also mean another one. Excellent. Good could mean marvelous, amazing. All these words mean good, don't they? I'm sure your teachers in previous must have used the word good as saying amazing, excellent, all these. Yeah, so you could use a thesaurus and find the new words for these basic words. So happy could mean excited, relieved, joy. So all different words that you could come up with would be great. I'll just note this down for you so that you remember, okay, that you're supposed to be doing the activity like this. So excited, we had amazing, okay, and so on. So I hope you understand what you're supposed to be doing in this activity. Okay. So you have to give examples of better vocabulary for these words. Moving on, this is an example. Oh yeah. So I'll put this picture up for you guys to understand the fact that this word nice, as you see over here, this man's putting it into this wheel in the factory, and all these different words are coming out. So all these words are synonyms of the word nice. So he's got marvelous, pleasant, wonderful, glorious, enjoyable. All these words mean nice. So let's note them down. I just want to do this. This is just to make sure that you understand what your activity is. So nice, as you can see, he's putting it into the wheel, and what's coming out from the chimneys? Marvelous, pleasant, wonderful, enjoyable, glorious. All these words mean the word nice. So obviously nice goes into this tractor, goes round and comes out as marvelous, pleasant, wonderful, glorious, enjoyable. Hope you guys got that. So just to 100% make sure that you understand the task, I'm going to note these words down here. Sorry, what was the word? Enjoyable. And we had pleasant. Oops. And we had glorious. I'm doing this right now because as part of the activity, I just want to make sure you guys understand what our activity is, okay? So we're putting all these words down over here because these words mean the same thing as nice, okay? Excellent. And I want you to carry it on and put whatever other word that you can see over here, put that down next to nice, and then use a thesaurus for each of these words, okay? Right, perfect. Moving on. So expanding your vocabulary examples. So I've got over here good means superb, fantastic, excellent. These are the answers of over here, but I do want you to come up with them and use a thesaurus, and maybe if not, you have this to look at. If you don't have a thesaurus, don't worry. Just revise all these words that mean the same thing as over here, okay? So we've got them all here, so you don't need to worry, but I want you to revise all the vocabulary synonyms for the basic overused words. So we have good, means superb, fantastic, brilliant, outstanding, and spectacular. Then we have nice as marvelous, enjoyable, pleasant, wonderful, glorious. Then we have very, extremely, highly, deeply, terribly, hugely, massively. Basically, all these words in a line mean the same word as the first word of the sentence, okay? Perfect. And I want you guys to fill this in, jot these words down in your books and fill in these synonyms next to the word, okay? That'd be great as part of your vocabulary list. Perfect. Okay, then next. So, vocabulary to create effects. Vocabulary can be used to influence the way a reader feels about a scene or topic. So by selecting words carefully, you can create the atmosphere your scene requires or the tone your article needs. As you mentioned before about atmosphere, perspective, the tone, the environment, all these depend on what vocabulary you use. For example, in a ghost story, you might select vocabulary to create a sense of fear. Okay, also, so example 1, I don't know why that has a colon there. So for example, in a ghost story, you might select vocabulary to create a sense of fear or words that describe fear, like scared, terrified, basically, okay? And then this is an example 1. So this picture shows doves soared overhead as we bustled from the church doorway. The clouds parted from the beaming sun that warmed the backs of the guests. So this is a couple that's walking out of the church. They're just happily married, and they had doves flying over, and the clouds parted across the sky, and they were warming the people's backs. And then it says over here, confetti and the scent of perfumed flowers filled the air. Laughter twirled like ribbons around the bride and groom. Do you see that simile that's been used over there? Quite cleverly, but it sounds lovely. So he's describing this picture. We're describing this picture, how the confetti and the scent of perfumed flowers fill the air. So the perfume meaning perfumed flowers. So the bride has her flowers, it must be very scentful, and they're just describing how it feels and how the atmosphere is like by using vocabulary, okay? So I hope you understood that. You may pause to read this description and by looking at the picture to understand what I am trying to say. So example 2. The setting is in a city, the mood is happy, and the example vocabulary, a bright sun glinted from the skyscraper windows. So the jungle, but the mood is sad, the baboons' plaintive cries pierced our hearts. That's sad. So here it says the animal was crying and it pierced the human's heart. Pierced meaning torn, but in other words, you could use the vocabulary as it really broke the heart. So desert means determined, the mood is determined, and the setting was a desert. The sand burned, the dust stunk, but we marched on regardless. So you see where the determined mood is set, is over here, but using a connective, we marched on regardless. So it all depends on the vocabulary you choose, basically. Moving on. So the setting is mountains and the mood is set to be hopeful. So the novel would be about mountains and the mood wants to be hopeful. So small white cloudlets hovered so close to our heads, we felt we could touch them. So where does the hopeful sentence come in? We felt we could touch them. Can you really touch clouds? You can if you're very up high, but they just wanted to touch them, meaning they want to be so hopeful that they could. So the beach is a setting, the mood is excited, and then the description is crabs sculpted hither and tie the children squealed in delight. So scolded hither, tie the children squealed, meaning when a number squeals. So in delight, meaning happy, but delight used as in another vocab for happy as a synonym. Okay, so you can revise this as well. I do understand that it takes time to understand, but these are all, I just want you to understand how this sentence describes the mood and the setting at the same time, okay? Perfect. So things to remember. Get into the habit of using a thesaurus. I have emphasized this a lot over the lectures. Even in the last lecture, I described how much a thesaurus could help you. So getting into the habit of using a thesaurus would do you huge favors. Experiment with different words in your writing. Keep a word journal. That's a must if you want to learn the best vocabulary and keep expanding your vocabulary. List on mind map your key vocabulary choices at the planning stage of your writing. And remember, we went through what a mind map is just 2 lessons ago, and the planning stage of your writing. And obviously this is your mind map. It's saying to list or mind map your vocabulary choices, what kind of vocabulary we'll be using, what is the setting, what is the mood. Depending on the setting and the mood, that's the kind of vocabulary that you would need. Understood? Perfect. So read back over your work and check your vocabulary choices. Are the words ambitious and do they fit with the style of writing? Also check, so this is important actually, you really do have to check if the words do fit in with your writing. Reread it, proofread it, make sure the words fit into the mood and setting of the writing. So check that you haven't accidentally repeated words in the nearby sentences also. Okay, so now it's your turn. I want you to revise all the expanding vocabulary examples. Sorry, just got itchy nose for some reason. So to revise all the expanding vocabulary examples that have been covered in this lecture, and to write a short fictional novel based on any topic you prefer. So 500 to 1,000 words, please. So that would be 1 or 2 pages, your choice. But you really need to revise all the expanding vocabulary examples that I have given you today. So there's a task over here that you need to complete. Okay, and I'm just going to underline that because that's important. That's the first task. Sorry, I want you to jot all these. I want you all to keep a vocabulary journal because I feel like that would really help you. So a journal, but by a journal, I mean a book, being it big or small, your choice. Just a notebook where you just write vocabulary in, so where you just write words in, English language words, and just to expand your vocabulary, okay? Perfect. And I want you to reread all these and note these in your book. So this is the answers for this, but obviously you can copy this down and read, make sure you understand the words. If you don't understand the words, go into the dictionary, but all these words, so super, fantastic, excellent, brilliant, outstanding, spectacular, all mean good. Okay, the main reason I'm saying is to keep a journal is to write all these words down so you know to not just use the word good, but you can also use the word excellent. You can also use the word outstanding. You can also use the word spectacular. Okay, so I highly recommend you keeping a journal for a vocabulary words. Okay, so where were we? Check that you haven't accidentally repeated words in nearby sentences. So when you do write your novel, don't repetitively use the same words throughout. So for example, if you're saying, oh, excellent work, oh, and then you say to another student in the novel, oh, excellent work, Matthew. Oh, excellent work, Thomas. Maybe use a different vocabulary and say, oh, marvelous work. And then in the next sentence, you could use excellent. So do not repeat your vocabulary in nearby sentences. I hope you understood that. So, yeah, okay. Okay, the main thing that I want to take away from this writing module is the fact that you keep a separate journal for just for vocabulary. So you understand the fact that you don't have to use the basic words such as good, nice, very, happy, big, hate, sad, said, walked. You could also use all these other words that you have over here and to not limit your choices, okay? I really want you to write all these words down into a separate journal book. Okay, perfect. And this is your main task, to write a short fictional novel based on any topic you prefer, be it 500 to 1,000 words long. That's maximum 1 page to 2 pages. Minimum 1 page, maximum 2 pages long, okay? And thinking about the planning stage, the vocabulary stage, the sentences stage. Like yesterday, we went over complex sentences, compound sentences, simple sentences. Today, we went over in detail about vocabulary choices and keeping a journal. The lecture before that was planning. All these lectures that have come, I hope that all you have been noting all this down in your books. And then I hope you enjoyed the writing module, and I hope it gave you more greater insight of how you could better your writing, inshallah. So the next module would be, the next 2 lessons coming up would be the module 2 for reading. So we're going to be covering skills, vertical writing, and reading for speed. So how to compare texts and sample exam question and answers, okay? So these are the 2 main topics that we will be covering. So tomorrow we will be covering how to compare texts, and then the second one will be sample exam question and answer, and then we'll go through vertical writing too. So tomorrow, good news, we're on to the second module, and then we're going to be going the 3rd lesson. So on the Tuesday, we're going to be going on to the 3rd module, hopefully, and then we should be done for the first 2 weeks. But hopefully, please do look back at the writing notes that you have. I really want you guys to think about how to better your writing, how to use the planning stage, how to use all the different sentences and the difference, and notice the difference between non-fiction and fictional, and also today's big lesson on vocabulary choices. This all will help you to definitely better your writing, and I hope you enjoyed the module. So yeah, take care and see you on